Without much ado, I'm going to kickstart today's show and first introduce Karan. So Karan Singh, as a lot of you know, is the man behind Sunburn Festival. So he's the CEO of Sunburn. He's also the Chief Operating Officer at Percept Live. Karan went to London School of Economics for his undergraduate degree, topped it up with an MBA at the Harvard Business School. Then spent 3 years working in investment banking and then decided to work with his father at Percept. So he knew the family business was sort of laid out for him, but he sort of segued his way through a little bit of professional experience. And I'm going to ask him a little bit about this through the talk as well. More than his professional accolades, I just want to say that I've known Karan personally since 2009 now. Karan was a batch younger than me at Harvard. And, just from knowing him this decade or more, I can just say that he's one of the most approachable and reliable people. The minute I messaged him for this talk, he instantly messaged me back saying, of course, I'd love to do this. So, Karan, thanks for being this really adorable person. I know all your friends love you for this trait of yours. So, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to this.
Our pleasure. So, Karan, let's kickstart this with your childhood. So, I love, I always feel like the way we sort of bloom into adults has a lot to do with our childhoods, right? So What was your childhood like? Like, what do you think made you who you are?
Yeah, I think that, I obviously grew up in Mumbai, living in a joint family, went to school over here. Percept has obviously been the family business. My father started it back in 1984. So I've kind of grown up, in the environment of this business, events, celebrities, talent management, advertising, marketing, all of this has been a big part of my life growing up. I think one of the first big events that I attended, without obviously working on it, I remember back in the day, we did the Nokia New Year's Eve concert in Mumbai with Nelly Furtado and A.R. Rahman and a lot of big artists.
Right.
And that was such a cool experience. That was, even before the whole music festival industry in India existed. So, I guess that was a big part of my childhood growing up. Probably somewhere, I felt that somewhere down the line, I would love to be a part of it as well.
Okay, so the family business was something you grew into, but it was something you were also obviously interested in doing.
Absolutely.
Like a lot of young people who get stuck in, so to speak, boring manufacturing businesses, you're fortunate to have a dad who set up something as cool as like running live events. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, no, definitely. I think, I've always felt that what my dad was doing, what my uncle was doing, the family business was something that's so exciting. Like obviously, growing up, all my friends used to keep asking me about it. We were doing movies for a while as well. So it's always been pretty exciting to be on the side of this and obviously now to be in the thick of things as well.
Okay. Yeah, Abhilash, I will get to your question about event management for sure. And Zidan, I will ask your question as well. We'll just go through a little bit of the flow. So, okay, Karan, how did you think of, you knew you had the family business. It was a legacy business. It was sort of designed and meant for you. You still went ahead and went to the London School of Economics. You still pursued an MBA, which a lot of people perceive as things you do if you want to, move into your career progression, get promotions at jobs, etc. With everything laid out for you, why still go through this sort of rigorous education that you did?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously the option to just join the family business was always there. And then I would have obviously learned so much on the job from my father, from the other people in the business, from working in the industry. But at the same time, we felt like that there is a lot of merit in understanding different perspectives, getting exposure in a different climate, in a different environment to all sorts of different people from different walks of life. And then, kind of coming back, being able to think fresh, being able to think outside the box, and then trying to apply those perspectives to the business and having a balanced approach where you're learning on the job, you're learning from the people who've been doing this for the last 20, 30 years, and you have the best practices that they have to offer and that they've been working on. But at the same time, you probably come back with all of this new exposure, new ideas. Some will work, some will fail, but that's a part of life. But there is a lot of merit to that. That's one of the reasons that I got into investment banking as well. After college, I was working for 3 years with Ambit in Mumbai, doing boutique M&A deals, again in the media and entertainment sector. That itself, like, there's so much knowledge from my time there that I still use, because that was actually my first steps to learning about the sector that I'm going to eventually be a part of, and learning about the sector in an advisory role rather than actually working in my family business. Then after that, obviously came the MBA. I think that was people say, but it's true. That's a transformational experience. I think, the person that I was at the end of the 2 years there was a completely different person. Like, the kind of self-confidence, the kind of exposure that you get, the kind of work ethic that it inculcates in you, new processes and ideologies, the kind of people that you meet there, the relationship that you develop stick with you. A lot of people, just as you said, think that the MBA is best for people who want to, say, work in finance or work in consulting or related fields and be professionals and work their way up. But but at the same time, it can also add so much for people who want to be entrepreneurs, people who want to even come back and join their family businesses, or who want to or who want to just do their own thing. There's still so much that you can learn. There were some of the courses that we did in HBS, as I said, some of the relationships that we made over there, which really stick with you throughout time. I don't think that anyone can put a value on it. So I would definitely wholeheartedly recommend it. And as I said, it was a really, really great experience for me as well.
Okay, cool. I mean, I echo your sentiment entirely, right? I spent time working in finance like you. I worked with a private equity firm also covering education. And that's what made me segue into education. When you see it from the outside and you get this bird's eye perspective on a sector, it's very helpful to, help you figure out. Okay, so you segued into event management, and we have a question here saying, how do you get into event management? Abhilash Pani asks. So what do you think, for someone who doesn't have a legacy business set up, what do you think is the right way for an outsider to get into this sort of business?
See, there are event training institutes in the country, like EMDI, for example, in Mumbai is a big one. So, typically we get a lot of, youngsters joining from there, from different backgrounds, people who've studied business, people who've studied communication, and, it's still a pretty small industry, right? So, event management in India, you can probably, count on your fingers the number of companies that are really doing it and doing it well. So, it's a pretty small industry, but if you're passionate about it, we really, there's no set, education or experience that you have to come from. If you have, the basic qualifications, but more important than that, the characteristics and the willingness, and the work ethic, I think that's more important. It's an industry where most of it can be learned on the job. It's a challenging yet a very rewarding job as well. So and obviously one is interested in working at
someone who was going to go get an education. So I have a question from Radhika Gupta. She asked, if I do want to get into event management, what should I be studying? Like, what courses should I take? So would you recommend doing courses in management? Like, what sort of education would help?
Yeah, I studied management. I think that it primed me pretty well, and I think that management is a really good general course that kind of prepares you not just for event management, but for a lot of different jobs. And event management, as the name suggests, is about making sure that a lot of pieces come together in an efficient manner to kind of pull off an event and a series of events after another. So I would definitely recommend that. Okay.
I have a question here from Surbhi, who says, on what basis do you guys hire people at Percept? What do you look for in your employees? And I worked with your company for 3 months, so I know you have a pretty high threshold for people.
Yeah.
In general, what do you look for, when you're hiring people?
Yeah, see, I mean, we, in my business, which is Percept Life, we really try and hire a lot of young and passionate and enthusiastic people as well. The average age of my team is around 25.
25,
so,
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people for who their first job or their second job is with Percept. So as I was saying earlier, like, more than about the experience, it's about the person having the right passion for the job, having the right passion for the industry, right? Because, like, obviously we are now what we're doing is music, right? So when someone is really passionate about the kind of music that we do, the kind of experiences that we put on, I think that there's no substitute for that. That's a much better place to be than someone who's looking at it as a regular 9 to 5 job, because that's exactly what it's not. And then pretty much everything else can be learned on the job.
Okay, so you said your number one criteria is passion for music, huh?
Yeah.
Then the rest of it you can sort of teach them. Okay, what do you have to say for people who who sort of feel like instead of going through a company and working there, we heard a lot of young people actually say, I'm just going to jump into entrepreneurship. Is that something you recommend, where you just say, just jump into it and you'll just figure it out? Or is it better to go through some sort of training with another company? Like, what's the right path for people?
No, see, in this particular industry, which is the IP industry, because we're in the business of creating IPs. Like, we created Sunburn, we're working on other IPs, we're working on international IPs. So this business actually requires a lot of capital in India as well. It's a policy. If anyone who thinks that they can put on a new music festival and just kind of start making money from day one, it's very rare for that to happen. So for that reason, I would recommend for people to actually work at a company like ours or any of the other companies in the space, get that experience, go on ground, actually be a part of the event. I was attending Sunburn for 4 or 5 years before I actually joined the business. And when you join the business and you learn about how these events actually happen and take place, then you realize what are the hundreds of things that need to go right in order to make one event happen.
Or the one thing that could go wrong for like the whole event.
Or the one thing that could go wrong, right? Because it's also like this industry. It's not like another industry, for example, where if you have a project and if things are not going on track, you may have the option of delaying the project, delaying the start date. Over your event is going to happen on the 27th, 28th, and 29th of December. Whether you're ready on that date or not, the gates are probably going to open and the event's going to happen. And if you're not ready, you're going to end up having a bad event. But it's very rare that you'll actually be like, oh, I'm just going to postpone the event because I'm not ready. So, so from that point of view, attention to detail, being able to multitask, being able to work under immense pressure, all of these things are really important. And many of these things come with experience. So I would definitely recommend for anyone who wants to even someday start their own festival or create their own intellectual property in this space, come and get the work experience, learn how things work, really just dive into the work, dive into the industry, and then, figure out what's right for you.
Okay, so since you recommend actually working for an organization like yours or not, I have a question from Rishabh Agarwal, who says, I've worked with people from several management companies. How would Percept differ from them? So yeah, he's just asking like, how is your company different from other event management companies?
So, I think that we were one of the first people in the space to actually embark on the journey of creating our own intellectual properties. Because most of the event management companies essentially specialize in doing corporate events, doing weddings, doing events for other brands, doing conferences, stuff like that, which is something that obviously we do as well. And we have a very big business in that space too. But we were one of the first companies that actually, took that leap of faith to creating our own properties. Sunburn was the first one. We have Bollyboom now as well, which is in the space of Bollywood music. And that's a whole different journey, because then you're taking care, of course, of the event execution, of the programming, of the creative, of the licensing, but also of the venue, of sponsorship, the cash flows, the finances, the artists, selling tickets, the pricing, all of those things. So there's just, another, 10 or 15 important things that you have to look at and consider to actually be able to create your own property. You also have to have a long-term view. There'll be many decisions that you'll have to take, which are, which will be taken with bearing in mind growing the property and the brand for the long term, but may not necessarily financially benefit you in the short term.
Okay.
So, so the whole journey of creating your own IP is very different from the regular event management journey. And I think that we were one of the first companies to embark on that since 2007, over the last 13 years. We've actually created a lot of expertise in this space. We've actually created like the whole way of modeling the business. A lot of the things have actually been created in-house, by us. Obviously, now there are other companies doing it as well. So I think that's what sets us apart. That 13, 14 years of experience in creating IPs, not just in event management. I don't think that any other company in the country obviously has that.
Okay, absolutely. I completely concur. I mean, you guys have created something really world class. It's become a draw for people to, travel all the way to India for. So I think you've just done a fab job. On that note, a lot of people, I have Amit Angara asking, a couple of people just asking about, they are so curious to know, is Sunburn 2020 happening? When is it happening? I have Artha Vas asking, due to the pandemic, what is the current status of, just Sunburn, and also just live concerts in general, right? What's your take on this? Like, what do you think?
Yeah. See, I mean, obviously, right now everything is on hold. I think that everybody knows that the entire country is on hold right now. In the meanwhile, if for anyone who's interested, we've been doing daily streams from the Sunburn platforms. So we're calling it Sunburn at Home. We're doing daily streams with a lot of good artists from around the world who are kind of tuning in and streaming sets from their houses, from their personal studios. That's been really cool. I think that we've had over 100,000 people tuning in on a daily basis to watch that. So that's been something that's kind of kept us going at this time. But obviously, I think that Sunburn, our main festival, always happens in the end of December 20th, and those are typically the dates. Our main season is from October to March. That's when we do most of the events. So we're all hopeful that before then things would be back to normal and we'll be able to plan and execute a season as we normally do. We're definitely already planning for Sunburn Festival to take place in Goa again this year.
Have you already spoken to your artists and sponsors, and is that sort of everything?
Yeah, we've been in touch with a lot of people. Obviously, everybody's really supportive. Most of them have been working with us for several years. It's not that they don't know Sunburn, they don't know what we do. So everybody's really supportive. And that we can have an amazing festival at the end of December in Goa with people from all over the country and all over the world attending.
Okay, Jerry, I hope that answers your question. Just in general, do you think we had this question come up before also? Do you think people can monetize digital concerts? Like, do you think it's something from an event management perspective you guys are going to consider doing?
I think yes. See, it definitely is possible. I think that right now, with the situation of the pandemic, a lot of people are experimenting with it, and even for us, I think that we've been doing it for over 3 weeks already. I think we've done more than 40-50 artists. But for us right now, it's more about just keeping it open to as many people as possible, right? Because everybody's stuck at home, everybody's in the same situation. Everybody needs something to do. We just want to give them, one extra platform or one extra form of entertainment. So right now is definitely not the right time to monetize it, but in the future, it could definitely be a very interesting option.
Okay, so right now, no one's looking at you don't see currently people moving to monetizing this.
No, not at the moment.
I'd be very interested in the audience. Like, if you could just answer in yes or no, would you pay for an online concert? Would you pay as little as 200 rupees for an online concert? If the answer is yes, just put a yes out there so that Karan and I both get some sort of indication from the audience. I will then move on to the next question. I have a question from Himangshu, who asked about, how much does an artist charge per event? Okay, this is something, Karan, we spoke about also. If you could just run us through, what does the P&L look like? The profit and loss statement of an event look like? For anyone looking to get through this career, what are some of the revenue items and what are some of the expense items?
See, on the expense,
that answers your question.
On the expense side, the main costs are the content and the production. So the content is obviously the programming, the artists. In the festival, we try and, like any festival, you'll have a few big headliners who are like your A+ and your A-listers, who are the biggest names, the crowd pullers. But at the same time, we try and make sure that we have all the genres covered. We have fresh artists who've not been to the country before. We have the best top Indian and domestic talent. At Sunburn, we have a total of 5 stages and over 100 artists playing. So, that's the whole content bit of it. And then the production obviously is the entire on-ground setup. So the staging, the technicals, the SFX, the creative, the experience for people, the security, all of that goes into the production. Apart from that, the other costs are typically the marketing, which obviously is a very important part of any festival as well. Reaching out to people, on digital platforms, on offline platforms, etc. Then, venues, logistics. So there are smaller cost items like that. On the revenue side, that's where things obviously get more interesting.
So just to be clear, in terms of the expenses, the largest expense is the artist cost.
Yeah, I would say it's about maybe 40 to 50% on the artist cost, another 30 to 40% on the production, and another 20 to 30% for all the other things that I just mentioned.
Okay, cool.
And on the revenue side, so that's where India is still pretty unique, because in India it's still more of a 50-50 or a 60-40 split between ticketing and sponsorship. Whereas in most of the other countries, like in the West, it's going to be about 80 to 90% on ticketing. But here sponsorship still plays a very big role. For brands, obviously, events and brands like Sunburn are a great way of reaching out to the youth across the country. That's one of the reasons that we've grown Sunburn into a platform that is relevant 365 days around the year. We do events all over. We do college events where we take over college festivals. We did over 80 of them last year. Totally, we do over 150 events across the course of the year. We're also very relevant on the social media platforms, putting on a lot of content throughout the year. So all of this makes us more and more relevant to the brands who want to reach out to the youth across the country. That's the sponsorship piece of it. And then obviously ticketing is a large part of it. They're getting your strategy right in terms of the pricing, the different categories, your VIPs, your VVIPs. All that's really important, because you have to try and make sure that you're monetizing to the full extent possible. And then food and beverage is probably like maybe 10%. So that's the smallest part of the revenue.
Okay, so it is still sponsors. Huh? So number one is still sponsors. Corporate
sponsorship and ticketing are both like, at a similar level in India.
Okay. Thank you for sharing the cost economics. I was always very curious about that. We have a question here from Sandhya Shetty, who says, since travel and live events are hit big time, so this is something, to do with COVID again. Do you think virtual experiences like live 3D modes is the future, and is Percept looking at anything in the live 3D space?
No, live 3D would be definitely very interesting. We haven't yet looked at it, but definitely something that we would like to do. Like you do see interesting stuff happening all the time. Like for example, there are concerts happening within the Fortnite game. Fortnite obviously is a massive game that is played by millions of people across the world. Even this DJ called Marshmello did a concert within Fortnite. So there is a lot of potential for merging of different worlds to happen, whether that is gaming, for example, or that is online content. Music can obviously play.
Have you guys fused any content into video games so far?
No, we haven't. No, we haven't yet done that. But again, that's something that's interesting. And a lot of this, I think that right now is a good time to explore all of these new avenues. We are working on like something different, which is more of a Sunburn loyalty program, which we're going to be launching soon. But generally now is obviously a very good time to look at different ways of delivering experiences and content to people. Yeah.
Okay, question from Amit Angara, who's saying that, will you be exploring other cities, like smaller cities other than Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad, and Bangalore? Saying that other cities, people always want big artists to perform in smaller cities. So is that something?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, again, we have been trying to make a conscious effort of doing that. Like Hyderabad didn't really get too many concerts until we took Afrojack there a few years ago, and now it's become one of the biggest, concert markets in India. We went to Calcutta as well. We went to Pune last year. We had a massive show in Pune a couple of months ago. We did a big show in Cochin last year as well. So I think that we're always on the lookout for going to new places. I always say that one of my aspirations is that in a few years, like when I see an artist launching their US tour with 40 dates, 50 dates, they're spending 3 months in that market, going on a bus from one city to another, playing massive sold out shows. And aspiration is for that to happen in India. Like it's a huge country. It's obviously one of the biggest countries in the world. So there's no reason why artists should come here and only play 3 or 4 or even 5 or 6 markets. Like in the future, I'm hopeful that we'll see artists coming and playing a lot more markets, and we're definitely very, very keen to play a big role in that.
Okay, awesome. Amit Angara, I hope that answered your question. Question from Stella, who says, what changes have you brought to Percept in your personal capacity? Okay, that's an interesting question. Since you've joined Percept as a next generation, what have you done differently?
So, I joined back in 2011. At that time, we were doing Sunburn in Goa once a year in December. The whole team would come together, work on it for 4 or 5 months, pull off an amazing festival. So then when I came in, it was a joint decision between my dad and me and my uncle to focus purely on Sunburn and really see where we can take the brand, how we can professionalize it, how we can grow it, how we can expand it, bring in people to work on it exclusively. So that's when we started coming up with new formats like Sunburn Arena, Sunburn Campus. We actually took the brand to different locations, to different cities. I think that professionalizing the entire experience, putting a format down to it, so that we could actually do so many events. Like today, as I said, we do over 150 events. It's not possible for my team to be there to execute every single event. There are so many events that are actually licensed out to promoters, to colleges to do. So just putting a format to the entire thing, making sure that a Sunburn experience is consistent, whether it is happening in a college in Raipur or it is like a big event that we are doing in the heart of Mumbai. Apart from that, I think that using data and really kind of making it a business that relies more on research, on data. That's something that I've really tried to do. And in this business, there'll always be an element of trusting your gut and your instinct and going with that as well. But I've really tried to inculcate a balanced approach of looking at research. We have a survey live right now. We do a survey of our fans every year with over 10,000 people answering, which actually is a pretty decent sample size. So we actually do mine a lot of data to try and make the right decisions in terms of programming, experiences, timing, locations, all of that.
Okay.
So I think those are a couple of things that I've at least tried to add to since joining the company.
Okay, wow. So you have really brought in a lot of theoretical concepts, modeling, Excel, statistics, all of that to what seemingly seems like just a fun event business on the outside. Clearly, a lot of data and analysis is going on in the inside. So that's a very good.
Absolutely.
Someone called so Himanshu says he would want to try and help you organize Sunburn, and some people were saying they'd like to reach out and work with you. Is there an email address or something you'd like to share where people can reach out to you for internships and experiences, etc.?
Yeah, they can email me. I'll drop my email in the chat box over here, and then I'll definitely pass it on to the relevant people in my team.
Okay, Abhilash Pani, Vedant Joshi says his internship at Percept for 7 months was an amazing experience, and thank you for it. So just a thank you to you, Karan.
Thank you. That's great to hear. Hope you're doing well.
Okay, I have another question here. Yeah, he says, Abhilash, how do you apply for these kind of jobs? Karan will be sharing. Karan, do you want to just call out your email address just so that people can write it down?
Yeah, it's karan.singh@perceptindia.in.
Okay. We have a question here from Priniti some photography. What things changed after JD left? I am not sure who JD is. Is there someone from the inside?
Yeah, he was a guy who worked with us for a very long time. I think that after me, he was the longest serving employee of the Sunburn team. So yeah, he had a long stint with us, which was great for both us and for him. And he moved on last year. He moved to another company. As I said, a lot of people join us. They spend a good few years with us, and then they move on, sometimes to different industries as well. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question here from Rohit Patil. Post-corona, do you think this will be a boom or bust situation? It could be a boom because of the lockdown. Brands need, other forms of marketing. So do you see anything, and do you see an upside to corona in any way?
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely think that eventually things will return to normal, but I do feel that it will take some time. So but like obviously we're not in a hurry. We are here. We're waiting for things to stabilize, things to normalize. We're waiting to be able to deliver the best Sunburn experience again for our fans and to welcome people from all over. As I said, we have been in touch with our brand partners. They're all incredibly supportive. Everybody, they are definitely going to stay with us and to continue to work with us. So even if it means doing a few lesser events this year, but we're going to make sure that we're back and that we're back delivering the best possible experience for people across the country.
A couple of them asked me to just repeat the email address. Radhika Singh, please repeat the email. Could you do
It's
that?
karan.singh@perceptindia.in.
Okay, guys, it's karan.singh, SINGH, at perceptindia.in. A couple of people asking about Nikhil Chopra. This seems to be like a burning question. It's come up 5 or 6 times in the chat, so I'm just compelled to ask you this. So they're asking, like, you know, how are you going to do this without Nikhil Chopra? Like, what's your take on this?
I mean, we've been doing it without him for a long time already. But obviously, he was a very, very key part of Sunburn, and he was a partner for the first few years. And then he moved on, and it's already been pretty well documented about everything that that happened then. And he's working with Viacom now, as well as with a couple of other things. We're all friends, we all see each other from time to time at conferences or at other events across. But obviously, we have our own team who's also very, very experienced. And yeah, I mean, we've been doing this for a while, so I think we'll be fine.
People come and go, right? Like the properties continue to live on and thrive, in fact.
Absolutely.
I have a question here from Josh Kruner, who says, what do you think prospects are for non-EDM live music in India and the world in general? Do you see EDM taking over, or is there still scope for other genres like indie, folk, fusion, etc.? That's a great question.
Yeah, no, there is huge scope. Like, EDM has been at the forefront of the music festival scene in India, definitely. And I think that we were fortunate enough to focus on EDM back in the day when it was really blowing up. And EDM lends itself well to India because, the music for the most part doesn't have a particular language, and therefore people from all over India can really enjoy it. It's also a type of music that has a lot of energy in it, which again appeals a lot to the young people of India. But that being said, many different genres of live, such as pop, hip hop, rap, R&B, indie, have been doing well, and have been coming to the fore more and more. We've also been experimenting with a bit of live stuff. In Sunburn, we did a really, really nice 2-city tour with Wiz Khalifa last year, which went very, very well. That was well received in Mumbai and Delhi. Both the shows were sold out. So whenever we've dabbled in the non-EDM space, the response has definitely been very encouraging. And
you have a Bollywood property as well, no? You do that Bollywood.
We have a Bollywood property as well called Bollyboom, which has been doing really well. We've been doing tours with Guru Randhawa, with Diljit Dosanjh recently. Again, those tours have been doing really well. We've actually been doing some Bollyboom shows in Dubai as well. So that's actually, a property that can be exported to other countries with a large Indian diaspora. So I think it's, obviously once things stabilize, it's a very good time for the space in general, for music concerts, for live experiences. People are definitely hungry for more and more, and there's more than enough space for a lot of different genres to flourish.
Okay, I have a question from Rajiv Podar. It's a very interesting question. So from an IP perspective, right, you spoke about how you guys have created these IPs. How do you manage against theft of ideas of your successful properties? Once you come up with these concepts, someone comes along and steals your concept. So how do you manage that?
No, there's no way of managing it. So end of the day, it's just something that you have to deal with, because you can try your best to protect your relationships. The best way is to just build strong relationships with all your key stakeholders, like your artists, your partners, your sponsors, your brands, your venues, so that even if somebody else comes along with the same idea, they will remain loyal to you. I think that's the best way. There's no way of legally, guarding it or anything like that, So that the best way is just through your relationships. But even then, you have to be prepared that every time that you do something well, like when we introduced a new pricing model for concerts in India, which did really well, it was a huge success. Immediately after that, other companies started following suit. So at the end of the day, if you're doing something well, you have to be prepared that there'll be people who will try and replicate similar models. And you just have to try to remain one step ahead of the game.
Okay, I also think it's a matter of execution, right? Like even if someone steals your concept, the way you guys execute something, I always feel like it's just the actual running through of the show and not the ideas.
No, absolutely. That's a very good point, because what happens is that a lot of the people who are just entering the space, who are maybe not doing it for the right reasons, they tend to cut corners and make compromises, especially when things are not going as per how they may have imagined or planned. Sure. But from day one, we've always been about not making those compromises, making sure that we're delivering the best possible seamless experience and delivering a world-class experience in India. And we've had to take many financial hits along the way for that, but we've always kept that at the back of our mind, because we wanted to make sure that the brand Sunburn is something that stands for that level of execution and quality, and that's been a key reason of where we are today.
Cool. Along the same lines, I have a question from Atharva, who says, one thing that makes Sunburn different from other festivals or other concerts in India. Is anything there? Anything in addition to the execution you want to add?
Yeah, no, again, I would talk about, the whole experience, right? Like the whole experience from the moment that you enter the festival, getting into the festival, all the different stages, all the different experiences. We haven't only been about putting up a massive stage, sound and lights. We always try to have creative stage designs. The whole dance temple design that we came up with for Sunburn from years ago is still remembered and revered by fans. That's the reason why so many of the artists who've played many bigger festivals across the world, probably, they still rate Sunburn in the top 3 or top 5 festivals that they've always played. They're still more than happy to come back because of the overall experience and the vibe that we deliver. And that's obviously something that's not easy to replicate.
Okay, Atharva, I hope that answered your question. We just have I have a question here from Raju Shetty, who says, any plans of getting into live music scene like Supersonic?
Yeah, no, as I said that we have been dabbling in the live space. We did this tour with Wiz Khalifa last year. We did a show with Tyga. We had Clean Bandit performing at Sunburn. I think that going forward, you will see us doing more and more in the live space. But at the same time, EDM and electronic music will remain as the main focus and the tenet of the festival, for sure.
Okay. I have a question from Ankush Barua, who says he wants to get a little sneak preview into the lineup for 2020. So he's like, can you share a little bit of a little hint of the Sunburn 2020 lineup?
No, at this point, it's too early to say. But as I was saying, we're going to be launching a Sunburn loyalty program soon. So definitely sign up for that. That'll be the best way to get the updates before anyone else.
Okay, you're setting up you want to share a little bit about your loyalty program that's coming up?
Yeah, it's it's going to be launched in the next couple of weeks, and we thought that now is the best time to do it because obviously it's going to be off season, nothing happening for a while. But when we come back, we want to come back with a lot of events. So just like it's going to be a loyalty program wherein you pay a little bit to be a part of the exclusive Sunburn Club, and then you get a whole host of benefits, including free tickets to any shows of your choice, discounts, merchandise, information before anyone else. And then it's going to be like an annual kind of model. So the more that you attend Sunburn events, the more rewards and benefits that you get, which is something that I think has been at the back of our mind for many, many years. But for whatever reason, we didn't get around to it yet. So we just thought that now is the best time.
Okay, Ankush, I hope that answered your question. And Zidan Khan, I hope that answered your question about how to get free tickets. You could probably sign up for the loyalty program. I have a question / comment / complaint from Rohit Patil, who says he was 2 kilometers away from the venue at 5:45 p.m. and he reached the Sunburn venue at 8:15 p.m. Any new traffic plan for the upcoming years?
No, what happens is that most of our events that we do in the cities don't have these issues because obviously the roads, the infrastructure is used to handling this kind of traffic. What happens in Goa at the end of December is that just the sheer volume of people and cars and bikes on the road is just absolutely unreal. So the only thing that we can advise people is just to come early, enjoy the festival. People who kind of come at 4 or 5 p.m. have gotten in absolutely fine. And so there's just that peak hour in the evening. And what we've done for that is that we actually start the festival earlier. We have a lot of gourmet and cool food experiences. We had an entire one stage that was done in a hangar this year, so that even in the day, people could come there, be in the shade and enjoy the music. So there's a lot that we've been doing from our side to try and encourage people to come early. And I think for anyone who's listening, that's, literally that's the best thing to do.
Do you guys work with the government to see if they're able to facilitate for you?
Yeah, of course. No, we do work with the government. There's a lot of traffic plans that are put into place at that time. Roads are made one way. There are designated parking areas to make sure that people don't just park on the road outside the festival. So all of that is done, absolutely. But beyond that, obviously, just with the sheer number of people who are coming and attending the festival, there's always going to be a bit of gridlock in those peak hours.
And the lanes in Goa are really narrow, so I can just imagine
exactly,
that.
Yeah.
I have another question here from Rajiv Podar. Okay, this is also a very interesting question. He asked, like, since Percept also does ads, and then you have the movie business, and then you have the events business. Personally, which business do you think is the future of the company? And would you also commercially, what do you think is the most viable?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm going to be biased, but I'm going to say that the intellectual property part of the business is the future, because that's where you are owning your own asset, you're owning your own property, which you can build and develop, and there's going to be a valuation to that, right? But at the same time, the services part of the business, which is the marketing, the communication, the activations, that's really important as well, because that's what kind of keeps the ball rolling. You have clients, you have regular work. You make a certain percentage or a certain margin on every job that you do. And also that kind of also enables us to build a lot of new relationships through that business, which you can then leverage for our other businesses as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Rajiv, I hope that answered your question. I have a question here from Radhika saying, does Percept plan to launch any event management courses like Wizcraft did? And anything in that space? Are you planning to go into education as well?
No plans right now, but that could be interesting. We have been working on something for DJs from Sunburn. So that would be also in the education space, but obviously not event management per se.
Okay. Radhika, as we spoke about earlier, like you're doing a formal course in event management would be great, but if you just generally get a degree in management, like a master's in management or an MBA, like both Karan and me have, you would be pretty well positioned to enter the industry as well. Going to take another question from Ankush Barua. Why Sunburn arenas in Delhi are always held in NCR? Okay, so why do you do them in NCR and not in Delhi proper? Is it because of the licensing?
I think that, we've been doing events in Gurgaon for the last couple of years, and things have been going very smooth there. And we have great venues that we've been working with there. We've been doing the events at Backyard. It's a great venue. It's very easily accessible by the metro as well. A lot of Delhi people are kind of used to traveling to Gurgaon on a daily basis now. So I think that it's been working so well that we just don't really see any reason to change it right now.
Okay, Ankush, I hope that answered your question. I'll take last one or two questions, Karan, and let you go. A question from Shloka Mehta, who says, what is Sunburn's vision in terms of consumer experience? Is anything you're thinking of differently this year?
Yeah, we are always looking at ways to enhance the experience. I think that for the last few years, we've been more focused on the stage experience, the music, the content, the programming. I think that going forward, we're also going to be putting a lot of emphasis on the actual consumer experience in terms of ticketing, technology, food and beverages, merchandise, getting in and getting out, traffic, as somebody mentioned. So all of those logistical hassles that can kind of take away from somebody's experience. We want to really also focus on ensuring that becomes more smooth, using technology where we can to add value. Like, for example, if you have the Sunburn Club card, then is there a way that you can just use the same card at every event and not have to go and buy a new card to just purchase food and drinks every single time? So there are all these little things that we're working on to try and enhance the experience. Obviously, in addition to, again, making sure that we deliver a fantastic stage programming, content, and all of that as well.
Okay, I like that approach. So you're trying to smoothen out the existing experience, and that obviously would enhance the consumer experience. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question from you, Kariwala. How do you evaluate the market for your shows? That's a good question. So how do you decide which cities to host in, and how do you decide the money situation for every city?
See, as I was saying earlier, we have different formats of Sunburn, and so the Sunburn Arena are the biggest shows, Sunburn Reload are the smaller shows, then we have the club shows and everything. So what we do is that we are always doing the smaller shows in many, many markets across the country. And then as soon as we identify some market, like I was saying that we did a big show in Cochin last year. And that's because for the smaller shows, the response that we were getting in that market was very, very encouraging. We were getting to see 3,000-4,000 people, coming out for those shows. So that really encouraged us to kind of go out and host a larger show there and look at doing a show with 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 people. So I think that, just by working with promoters across the country, doing shows, going to colleges, doing shows over there, we're just gathering so much data through that process in terms of how big each market is, which doesn't mean that you obviously won't go wrong. You'll still end up doing shows in some markets and maybe overestimating the size of the market, but at least you'll be able to be a little closer in terms of what the reality is.
Okay. That's actually very helpful. So it's sort of like a MVP. You run like a smaller festival, see how that works. If you get good feedback, then sort of scale it up. Okay, that's smartly done. Okay, I hope Kariwala, Amit Angara, Ankush Bora, Radhika, Rajiv, Shloka. I hope all these answers have helped. Rohit Patil. Let's take one last question or so. How to organize Sunburn Reload? How do you organize Sunburn Reload?
Yeah, so Reload is the format that we do in tier 2 cities. So just send me an email. There are 2 people from my team who completely focus only on reloads, and I'll connect you with them. And we do reloads all over the country. We did, I think, 30 plus of these last year. So yeah.
Okay, Himanshu, you seem really interested in the space. Definitely do reach out to Karan. Question from Mr. Photographer. Which one has been your biggest show to date?
Our biggest show in terms of the arenas, the number of people, was Martin Garrix in Mumbai, where we did 52,000 people at the race course in 2017. That was our biggest show. I think that's also the largest ticketed show to happen in India.
I remember that show. I live very close to the race course, and all the roads and from our house were blocked that day.
Yeah.
I have a question to ask. Just personally, it hasn't come up in the chat, but it's something I've been wondering about. Do you have any opportunities you feel like you missed over the last decade where you're like, damn, we should have done this thing?
Of course, there's so many opportunities that you always end up missing. I mean, just off the cuff, we had an opportunity to bring Calvin Harris to Sunburn Goa many years ago. Literally, I think there was an email from the agent saying, he's about to drop this track with Rihanna, which is going to be really big, and you should book him right now. And then we didn't. And then I think for the last 5 years, we've been just trying to book him and then not being able to. So, just like this, there's so many opportunities that come and go. There's always going to be missed opportunities, but hopefully there'll also, for that, be many other opportunities that you can go back to and make them happen.
Okay. I'm going to ask this question because the Northeast in India always feels like it's neglected. And I've traveled extensively to the Northeast. I absolutely love being there. So I'm going to take this question. Do you guys have any plans of doing anything in the Northeast, like N87 in Shillong, considering the number of fans in that region?
Yeah, definitely. We've been trying to do a big Sunburn arena in Shillong or Guwahati for a long time. We just haven't been able to find the right set of partners and venues yet, but I'm really hopeful that this year we'll be able to make it happen.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Ankush. I have a DJ Mist official who says he's made his artist profile to your team a while back, but he hasn't got any reply. Okay.
Okay, we'll look into all that, don't worry.
He'll look into it. He's also been very generous and shared his email address here in the chat. So if you just go and swipe up to the chat, you can find it. Last question from Sandhya Shetty, who says, Percept has been around for a long time and Solomon is big and he has never come to India. Are you going to bring Solomon?
Yeah, I think that, we just launched a new sub-brand called Solaris last year, which is in the techno and underground space. We had Maceo Plex play Sunburn. He's one of the biggest artists in the space. So hopefully over the next couple of years, now with the launch of Solaris, you will see us making an effort to bring down some of the biggest names in the underground space as well.
Okay, Sunday, I hope that answers your question. Are you doing Swedish House Mafia this year?
Well, Swedish House Mafia was also one of the biggest concerts that we've ever done. We did the one last tour with them in 2012. That was like literally the first big shows that happened in India. Obviously now, they are on the way to reuniting and, so you never know. Hopefully someday we can bring them back to India, which would be pretty epic for sure.
Okay, awesome. Guys, I know the questions are going to go on and I have to let Karan go. I requested 30 minutes of his time. It's been almost an hour. So Karan, thank you so much. This is amazing. I'm sure a lot of the audience has learned many things. I, for myself, can speak that I've learned lots of things about event management. And as usual, you've been fabulous. So thank you so much. Guys, this transcript will be available on my stories for the next 24 hours. So if you came on late, then you can watch it there. We're also going to be sharing the entire video on YouTube. Karan, you want to say something before you sign off?
Yeah, listen, thanks so much for having me. This has been great. Even what you guys are doing, I know that we spoke briefly about my business school experience earlier, which for those people who've kind of tuned in later was really a transformative and a very, very positive experience for me. It really played a huge role in, in me getting where I am today. Obviously, like what you guys are doing as well at Reach IV, I think is very, very helpful. I remember at that time, I had two friends, one in Wharton at the time and one who had graduated from HBS, who were guiding me through the entire process, because it can be quite challenging to figure out what's best for you, timing, courses, how to just navigate the entire process. So I think that what you guys are doing, especially since you've kind of lived through it and come back as well, it's great in terms of just guiding people to make the right decisions. I was really, really happy with my experience there. So would definitely recommend that to everyone watching. And if you have any more questions or want to get in touch with me regarding Sunburn or Percept, then please feel free to.
Okay, thanks so much, Karan. And guys, our next guest is Anupama Chopra. On Friday, 1st of May, I know it's Maharashtra Day, it's Labor Day. So even if you guys are working from home, this is an actual holiday. So 5:30 on Friday, she's going to obviously talk about the career of being a film critic, which again is a super duper exciting career to take on. So thanks again, guys. I'm going to let Karan go and we're going to sign off now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you. Thanks. Bye.